Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I am filming my February wrap up where I read 27 books and I'm cutting the last day of February to start my March TBR because I can't be bothered to start a new book that is not on my TBR, okay? It was a good month. As you can probably tell, I did Blackout where I read many great amazing books, and then I did Polathon where I read many books, but I don't know if they were amazing. And then I also did like my own 48-hour readathon for Patreons. I also listened to some audiobook with Erica, as I did last month. Last month we listened to 9, like in January. We didn't listen to that many in February. I think we listened to 2, but still. So what I'm thinking, I will go through all my Blackout books first, and then we'll talk about like the rest of the stuff I read. Again, we'll probably not be that thorough, but let's go through all the books. To be honest, why does it feel like a lifetime ago I read these books, even though February is like the shortest month in the whole world. So first off we have Blackout by Daniel Clayton, Nick Stone, Tiffany D. Jackson, Ashley Woodfolk, Andrew Thomas, Nicola Yoon. And this one follows these short stories where it happens at Blackout in New York, and then we have all these different stories in connecting. Some of them is like confessing love, breaking up. Was anyone breaking up? I don't even remember. But figuring out our own stuff and like friendship and different stuff in the different stories. It's a bit like Love Actually, just like it's a Blackout and following the characters in New York where like they kind of connect without like properly interconnecting, or like they know of each other but they're like not about each other. And each author had like their own story, etc. And I didn't think it was terrible. I heard really terrible things about it. I don't know why. I just thought that some of the stories were really like repetitive in a way that they were about the same thing. Like a lot of them about like confessing love or like realizing the same thing or like falling in love, and I was just like, I'm bored, or like getting back together with someone they've been together for a long time. So I didn't think all the stories were that interesting, even though I do get that like they want to write stories where black young characters fell in love. I do get that, but it became like a bit like, for me, repetitive in the story. But I did think they were well written, and I thought it was like an okay book, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Actually, I didn't say in the beginning, but most of my reads were 3 out of 5 stars, which is a bit sad. I don't think 3 stars is terrible. It's just like, it feels really like, it's okay, but I have too many issues to like completely love it. So it's a bit sad, but it's fine. Either way, next one I read was Beast of Ruin by Anne of Grey. This is a sequel to Beast of Prey, I really think, which I really enjoyed. And I would sad to say I didn't enjoy this as much as the first one, but I wouldn't say that this is a bad book by any means. We follow our 2 main characters that now are on different paths for different reasons. After whatever you read in the first book, I don't want to spoil anything. And when they're on these paths, I don't know how to talk about it without like spoiling it, but there's like a trope here that I really hate, where like new characters are introduced to our characters. I don't want to say more than that, but like it's just like I didn't get it. Like, why is it happening to both of them? It just felt weird. I didn't like that part that much. I did like their individual journeys and stuff they found out, but it felt also very much like a big book. Nothing was concluded, nothing was like wrapped up or anything like that. It was just like a book where we're kind of separated, and then we just have their separate journeys, and then the book was done. So I feel like maybe the book would have benefited more from, for example, being a duology, which is like my thing these days, where like I say that about every trilogy, because I just feel like sometimes there's not enough to hold it up as a trilogy. I'm not saying it was terrible. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I liked the lore, I liked the characters, I like the flashbacks we got, and I do like our characters and like the magic and everything like that. I just didn't love like, I would say like the plot and like where the story went, which is like a huge part of the book, and it's like one of the things I like look most for in books is the plot. So yeah, I ended up giving it 2 out of 5 stars, and I am excited for the 3rd book because I feel like that will be like where everything will happen, but it still didn't, keep me back from like having some frustrations with this one, but still a good book. I then read Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley, and this one I listened to the audiobook on and was one of the group break books for one of the teams for Blackout. And this one follows 2 characters, where one of them is like a famous football player, and then he has opened this bakery, but it's not going that well. And then we have another main character who tried to be like a reality celebrity star, but then this backfired after a certain thing happened. So like the common people like they hate her, and she has gotten like a lot of hate, and she's like been always struggling to find out what she wants to do with her life. And then she's like gonna prove to her grandma and her parents that she can hold on a job, and she gets a job at the bakery for this dude, and they already had an encounter where it didn't go that well. So it starts off with this, and I just think they are really, really funny banter between them. They're very much different kind of characters. I really loved how they shone on each other. I really liked how this was written as well. And it seems to be kind of be a sequel because it ended kind of long, not on a cliffhanger for the couple, but like for another character, which I assume we get their own love story. And I just really, really love the sweetness of it. It's very like, it has a fake dating because they decide to fake date to like promote the bakery as well as saving, I was gonna save her reputation, but like make her reputation better after like everyone hated her. So decided to fake date for that, and I just thought it was really sweet. I really enjoyed it. So this was a 4 out of 5 star read. Apparently I'm just a romance reader now, which is fun. But yeah, not any hate on romance. I have read many and enjoyed, but I was like, I feel like the romance genre was a different genre altogether a few years ago. That's all I gotta say. Then I read Fewer Star by Rebecca Ronhurst, which again is the sequel to Black Sun. And I don't even know how to describe this book at all, like what it is about. But basically, in the first one, we had like a godling kind of creature coming back, and then there's like kind of a revolution for like the people controlling this place. And I didn't really know how to explain it, but in this one we like have the consequences of what happened in the first one. I didn't really say what Beast of Prey was about either, but you're dealing either way. And again, I felt like a bridge book and not a lot of things happen. I feel like we just established a lot of characters going to a certain place or like being in a certain place after the first book. I feel like really, really small things happen. I feel like I might be a bit stupid, maybe I missed stuff, but overall I was just like, after the book I was like, nothing has happened. Like small development for the different characters, but that's still, and I was just like, that's it. And it was a bit frustrating, I will be honest. I am giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not saying the book isn't written great, and I love the world and I love seeing like the different things. It's very original and cool, and yeah, but again, the plot felt flat to me, and I felt again maybe it should have been a duology, or like just more stuff needs to happen in the second book for me. So again, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not saying I hate the series or anything like that, and I'm very excited for the third one. But like, I read 2 second books after one another where I felt nothing happened, and for me that felt sad. Okay. Then I read Riot Baby by Tojo and Butchie. This one was also a group pick for one of the teams for Blackout. And this one follows 2 siblings that kind of have this connection that can see each other. One of them is incarcerated and the other one is like dealing with life. And I thought for me it was written a bit confusingly. I was like unsure of what was real or not, but I also feel like maybe that's the point of the book. But it builds up to like this thing, and I thought it was really cool. And it's definitely like more like set in the future and like more of like a dystopian world. But it also reflects a lot about like how black people are treated in our world, on like our present day is what more I want to say, because it is in our world. And I thought it was good. I did like it. I just like didn't love it as much as I thought it would. I have read other books by the author, and it's not my favorite, but I still think it was a very strong read, and that it was written really well. I don't remember if I gave it 3 or 4 stars, but I feel like it's more like a 3 or 5. And yeah, I would definitely recommend it, and like even like reread it to like see the things I missed the first time around. And guess what? I read another sequel, The Merciless Ones by Namina Forna, which is again the middle in the trilogy, and again a bit disappointing. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The first one I really enjoyed. It follows like set in this world where like they test girls if they bleed gold, and if they are, they're like kind of half demons, so they like sent to this army to fight these creatures, and it's like a whole thing. And in this one we follow again the consequences of the first one. I did however really enjoy more parts in this one plot wise than like compared to the other 2. Not that I need to compare them, but since we were here, it felt like they all came off after one another, even though I read other things between of them. Really, the reviews in here actually were really interesting, like stuff that we thought was like this, and it wasn't, so I enjoyed that. It was just something about like how I didn't feel as connected to the characters. When something happened to them, I didn't really care about them. I was just like, well, you and I didn't really even care for my main character. So here I have like this detachment to them that like made my drama of the story like not as great, but I still really thought that like the reviews were cool, and like what happened will be interesting, and like I as I said, do enjoy the world and like the plot and etc. I personally have issues with everything, but yeah, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I'm enjoying it, and I will of course read the third book once again. Now I read actually a second book in the series that I really enjoyed, which was Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This one is the second book in the Brown Sister series, but it's really not like a proper series of like companions to each other. It follows 3 Brown sisters, but 1 sister for each book, and like there's a romance. Apparently romance is what's kicking me here, huh? All the fantasy was like nah, and the romance was like yay. And this one we follow Dani, and what's his name again? Saphir, and he's like I was gonna say bodyguard, that's the wrong word. The guard, the door guard, the security guard, that's the name, jeez. At like the university she works at, and he's a PhD student at, and then the people see them together after like this thing happens, and then they go kind of rival, and then they again fake date because he has like this non-profit organization, and they get like a lot of attention because like of this and their relationship, because people really like them. So again, they fake date so that he can give more support for his organization, which is really sweet. Also, I just realized, didn't he used to be like, I don't know if he was a football player or a rugby player, but he used to be like either one of those. This book is basically fake it until you bake it. Like, they are perfect contracts to each other, and if you like one you will like the other, which is definitely what happened here, even though I did like Kingfountain Brown more. And yeah, Dani also like is not in a relationship at all. She's like very detached romantically, and she's like only what like casual sex, and he's like really romantic. So it's a really, really fun one. I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's not a complete 5-star book for me, but like I basically could have been, because I enjoyed it so much. Then I read Only on the Weekends by Dani. This one I listened to the audiobook on because it's written like in verse instead of prose, and I really enjoyed the Black Flamingo, where it was written like the same way, and it was like had very beautiful writing. I think in this one, for me, I didn't like notice the beautiful writing as much in audio. I don't know, I just felt like a normal written prose book, which like I feel like it didn't have like the, I was gonna say like when it was narrated, I didn't feel like it had like the pauses it needed. Maybe I listened to it too fast, but I feel like it was missing when I was listening to the audiobook this time around, which is a bit sad. Basically follows, I even forgotten his name, Mac, who is like a romantic. He wanted his first love, and then Kay is like a super popular hot jock dude, and then they actually get a thing, but Kay is not ready to be out yet, and then Mac needs to move to Scotland for a few months, and then he meets this other dude as well, and I'm like, it's contrast, etc. I struggle with this a lot. It was like, I know Mac is supposed to be 15, but in my head I was just like, I could not deal with his behavior. It was very privileged and spoiled and rude and just bratty, and I just didn't like him, which made it hard for me to like follow his head. And like I felt really bad for some of the characters around him, even though like, I do think like the characters around him did mistakes as well, but it was just like a lot, and I just didn't love the story. And then the ending was just like, what was that? And it's like so long, even though like it's a quick read. It's like 500 pages long, and we used all this time, all this stuff, and then the ending wasn't even like, this is it, this is the ending we get, and it was a bit annoying. So like I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, but it's more like 2.5, could perhaps be a 2, because I didn't really enjoy myself at all, which is very disappointing, because I loved Black Flamingo, and I really think that I liked Dani's writing. I just didn't like the story and the characters, so that is hard to like this book for me. Sad times. I then finally read Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This one follows these 2 sisters that ran away, and then in the future one of them is posting off as white and has a white husband, etc. And the other one ran away from her abusive husband and got a child, which is like very dark skinned, because he was very dark skinned while they are very light skinned. And they live in this really small town where like no one likes that you're black, and they were really light skinned, so they could pass off, but they ran away from there, and now she's returning, and then we have these 2 characters to see like what happened to them, how they grew up, and it's told like kind of back and forth a bit. And we follow a lot of their kids as well to like see how they grew up with like all the secrets, etc. It's not at all what I thought it would be. I thought it would be more about like Stella, who was the one who like is passing off as white, and like how it came to be like this, but it's much more about like the secret she has kept and the vanishing half of herself. But it's also just more than the vanishing half of herself, it's also the vanishing half of like each other, since they were twins. It's also about like the vanishing half of like their children, because like they have lost parts of themselves as well, because they don't know their family, they don't know their history. And it's just a very sad book overall, actually. I was not expecting it to be so sad. I knew it was going to be serious and following a serious topic and discussions, but didn't think that it was going to be so sad about like everything. And yeah, I was very surprised by it. I really did enjoy it though. It was really hard hitting. It was written really well. I feel like I would want even more from it, and like a book like this. But yeah, again, it was not built up at all as I thought it would be, but what I got was still like so good, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really great read, and I feel like I could discuss it for a really long time, but we're not going to do that here. But it was a good book. Then we have She Will Be King by Beauty Moore, which is one of the group book picks as well for Blackout, which was the last one because there was 3 teams. This one is set in West Africa, where like slavery is still happening. We are back in the day. I feel like it says the year in the beginning, but can I find it? Probably not, because a lot of like introduction pages it doesn't say. But it basically follows like this old lady at first that died, and then her ability was to live like for a super long time, and then Besa, our main character, gets that ability, so she's like immortal. She can like be killed, but then she gets resurrected. We also follow these other characters that was the son of like a plantation slave, and he has the ability to be like super strong. And we follow another character again that was the son of a white dude and his slave woman, and he has the ability to become invisible. And we have all these characters like how they kind of, I was gonna say, assemble to like fight against slavery in their country. And we have a main character like finding herself and finding her path. And it's a very sad book again, but it was really, really cool. It was written very, very like beautifully and lyrical, I would say. And it just, again, as you can imagine, just from like how I try to describe the book, it follows many, many important themes, and it was also just very cool, but also very sad. Overall, just sad parts and good parts. But yeah, it was written really, really well. Really enjoyed. 4 over 5 stars. So I guess I am ending off the month on a high after going low for a long time, which is good. But yeah, again, as I said with the Vanishing Half, many more things obviously could be said about this book, but no, I really enjoyed it and I would definitely recommend it. And then the last book for Blackout would be The Death of Vivek Oji by Quick and Messy. This one was also my better pick for my Patreon, and in this one we have Vivek Oji, who is dead, but we don't know really like how it happened, and then we're like going back in time to find out like how he ended up being dead. It's very sad. Apparently all these books are just sad, but it's also very beautiful. It's about family and friendship and sexuality and gender and love and sex, and yeah, and I made a vlog for my patrons for this book, and I realized when I edited it like how much really happened. It is 245 pages long, and just how much that happened and was covered and discussed, and I'm just like, dang, that's a well written book, and it's written so well. It takes up so many interesting things, and the characters were really, really great, and just how we get like different perspectives, and it was really, really good, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Very solid book. Again, so many more things could be said about these, because I feel like these are like smart books, at least like the 3 last ones. It's like smart books, and I'm just like, so, for the rest of the month, my first read for the month was actually White Oleander by Janet Finch. This was supposed to be read in January, but then the other one was abridged, and then I had to read like the whole thing the first day of February instead, so it became in my February wrap-up. I read it for my Reading Booktober's favorite books for Jessie, so that was up on my channel already. But basically follows a girl who goes up with a mother who goes to prison, and then she just lives with trauma her whole life because of this, basically. And it's just very sad. But yeah, I was really interested in it in the beginning, and in the end I was just like, don't really care that much anymore, so I think I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. Now for the audiobooks I listened to with Erica, we actually did 3. I thought we did 2, but we did 3, and to be honest, we slowed down so much because we had done so much other things as well, but it's fine. So we listened to Hellbent first, which is by Lee Bardugo. It's the sequel to The Ninth House, and I hadn't like, by the way, looked underneath it until now, and I was just like, dang, it looks amazing, and I didn't even look. Hellbent is, as I said, the sequel to Ninth House, which is a dark academia book. It follows Alex Stern, who can see ghosts, and she joins the secret society where like her ability is used to control these other secret societies that use the supernatural to fend off their stuff. And this one was one of my most anticipated releases ever, because I love Ninth House. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And this one, I would say, is I was disappointed once again. No, but just how we had this build-up for this thing where I actually thought we were already done with that thing. I can't really say what it is. And then like we used the whole book on that thing, and it just never ends. We're just in this thing over and over and over and over, and then it finally happens, and then the book is over, and I'm just sitting there like, I actually got a bit annoyed at the point. I was just like, this is stupid. And I love the characters, I love the world, I love the writing and all that. The plot frustrated me a lot. Once again, just stuff in here that I wish happened so much more than what actually happened here, and it makes me upset. But yeah, I still love a lot of parts of it, and I will think when I get the full picture of like the whole series, I will like appreciate this more, maybe like upon a reread, etc. But right now it stands as a 3-star, and that is sad to say for like the sequel to one of my favorite books. It's very sad. And then we used like over half the month to listen to Well of Ascension, which is Mistborn 2, obviously. And we listened to Mistborn 1 in the month before, which is like, it was a reread for both of us, but Erica had not listened to Well of Ascension. It's a really good time. We're actually in the middle of Hero Ages now. Hopefully we will finish that in March. We have to, actually. It's the sequel to Fallen Empire, which is set in a world where people get abilities from metals, and then you can either control 1 or all 8 when then you are a Mistborn. So we have Wayne who finds out she's a Mistborn, and then you're going to take out the Lord Ruler who has controlled this land for the last 1,000 years. And it's amazing. It's one of my favorite books of all time. This just holds up so well. I know that this is very much slower than the first one, but it's just so worth it. I love it so much. There's just stuff and how it is revealed and how it's written. Love it. Obviously 5 stars, but like it was a reread, so what else is new? Then we also listened to Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Big Cora, which was so weird because we listened to this in one day after using like 3 weeks on Well of Ascension. And this one is again one of my favorite books of all time. I'm basically making Erica read off my favorite books of all time. And it follows Darius, who has clinical depression, and he is struggling a lot with his relationship with his father, etc., and with the relationship with itself, I would say. And then they go to Iran to visit their grandparents, and the whole family is there, and he meets them for the first time, and it's just family and the culture and his first real friend, and it's just so beautiful. And I always cry, almost. Actually did quite cry in this one, but almost cried about his family and just like communicating and just being there for each other, and it's beautiful. Okay, I love it a lot. So 5 out of 5 stars, obviously, and hopefully we will get the sequel soon because I love that one as well, and I only read that one time. So that was some other books. Now I also had, you know, Polathon, where I read book 2 to 8 in the Planet Barbarians for Polathon. So I read 1 book a day. I already read number 1. I didn't want to read that again. And I'm not going to talk about every book individually, but basically I have a whole vlog where I talk about them more individually if you want thoughts then. The concept for Planet Barbarians is a bit weird. So we have these women that are stolen from Earth to become basically sex slaves, and then they crash land on this ice planet, and they kind of depend on having this Kuyi thing inside of them to survive, and this thing mates them with other people. I was gonna say it's kinda against their will because like they're maybe not like completely ready for it or like know that person well, but the Kuyi always knows when you're ready and as well know who person you will be best for, which is a bit weird. It's like a choice. It takes the choice from you and it knows before you know who you're good with. And then there's this alien sex thing because the aliens are hard, the humans are soft, and I realize this every time, and they have rigid thongs and rigid under dicks, and it's a whole thing, and it's very entertaining. I would say like it's kind of stupid. You read the same book over and over, you have different like tropes between the romantic characters, like they either hate each other, they're like really hold each other at once, one of them is grumpy, one of them is sunshine, you know, the whole thing. But you can use the same and different tropes over and over and over because like it's like you have so many couples you need to pair up, and then at the same time you develop the world, which is kind of interesting as well. And like, yes, they're trash, and like, yes, they're not the best literature I ever read, but they're so fun. You get very addicted and you get really into the world. And I was never planning to like finish the series, and I'm just like, well, now I read like 8 of them, I might as well. I don't know when, but I might as well just do it, and I'm kind of excited for it. I will read them here and there. I don't know, really. I need to cancel my Kindle Unlimited though, but maybe I shouldn't cancel after all. But overall, just very entertaining, even though like I felt like I had problems with it, but I kind of just after a while I just turn them off because like it's very prominent in the beginning, but then you see what the author is like doing, and then you realize just like just gotta read it, I guess. But yeah, I gave them like all 3 out of 5 stars because it's not like 4 stars or breach for me, but they are enjoyable, and I will continue. And that's my overall thoughts. I probably had more to say, but I said it in a vlog because now I can't remember. And then for my 48-hour readathon with Patreons, I was doing Do the Shit-a-thon, which was basically to like finish up stuff you said you wanted to read and do in 2022. And I had a reading challenge where I was picked out sequels that I was going to read for the month, and then I didn't read them. So I was planning to read them all that weekend, and I did. It was 5 books. I will show them all here now, but I have it in my vlog as well. So we have Still Me by Jodie Moyes, which is the 3rd and final book in Me Before You. Did enjoy this more than the second one, and I'd like to see Louis' characters wherever she wants. Didn't like the ending that much. I overall like don't feel like that. I don't love the series anyway. I feel like it is like meh because of the first book anyway, but like I do enjoy like finishing stuff up and like seeing what Luke Clark wants. But yeah, I gave this like 3 out of 5 stars, and now I can finally give my copy back to my mom after taking it for like 3 months. And then I finished up Red Rising, so I read Dark Age by Chris Brown. I know 2 more books are coming, but like I caught up on the whole series, and I did not love this. I feel like I liked it more than Iron Gold, but I feel like just nothing happened. It is so long. It is 700 pages long, and it could have been like 400 pages, I swear. It was not needed. We had like all these characters in these different situations, and I felt like it was just going nowhere. And I felt like we like nothing has developed or happened almost. And I feel like we could have just put Iron Gold and Dark Age together, and it would have been like basically the same shit. Just like it could have been like 500 pages instead of like what, 1300, I don't even know, 1100, I don't even know. But yeah, I just don't love how the story went at all. The only book I liked in the series is the first one. Like, why am I reading it? I don't know, I want to see what happens, but if nothing happens, it's not my fault. And yeah, I give it 2 out of 5 stars. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm pissed looking at it. Like, it's gonna take so much space in my shelves as well. Rude. And then I also finished up Kingfountain Series, so I had to read book 5, which was Silent Shield, and then The Forsaken Throne, which is book 6, and then The Poisonous Enemy, which was like a prequel. So I ran down all of the books, except like a short novel for like 40 pages, but I don't bother reading that. And yay, I finished the whole thing. I am happy. Did enjoy the ending more than I thought I would, even though like I didn't like the like mid part where you have to go a certain place, because I don't really like care for that kind of storyline that much. But overall, I just enjoyed seeing the end and seeing how it all came together. And it was fun. And it was a fun ride. Even like, it wasn't the best ever, but it was fun. I think I gave them like 3 out of 5 stars. I don't have more to say than that. I was trying to like, that was the shortest review in the world, but whatever. And the last book I read for the month was The Tropic of Serpents by Marie Brennan. This one is the second book in the Memoirs of the Tri series, which I'm reading with my Patreons. And it's the second book in the series where like we have a woman who was like really, I was gonna say, locked down by the conventions of society, where she's not expected to be like a scientist as she is, and she wants to study giants, and she's trying to do that in this book, where like she looks back on her life and kind of write about how she went and explored and different stuff. So that's what the books are about, really. And yeah, I did enjoy it, but I have issues, which I was discussing with my patrons. It was just like, it's not amazing yet for me, but hopefully that will come. So I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars. And yeah, that was all the books I read in February. Hopefully I will look over the list. Unless I've forgotten to write something on the list, that was all the 27 books I have read. I hope you enjoyed this video. Very varied picks this month. But yeah, obviously, if you look away from my rereads, I think my favorite was Take a Hit Down in Brown, which is weird to think about. Leave a like serpent emoji down below if you enjoy this. You should see me soon in a new video. Check out my Patreon down below if you want to support my channel further, and you should see me soon in a new one. Goodbye!